watching the latest news from FinancialMirror.tv. Washington's failure to agree a bailout plan for the shattered banking system degenerated into chaos overnight, sending global stocks sharply lower on Friday and weakened the dollar. The crisis put money markets under massive stress, and US government bond yields fell as investors sought safe havens. Adding to the drama, US authorities also shut down Washington Mutual, the largest savings and loan bank, and sold its assets to JP Morgan Chase for $1.9 billion. Underlying the drying up of finance that lies behind the crisis, 3-month dollar interbank rates were indicated at around 4.5% on Reuters, at least 275 basis points above expected US interest rates in December. Intensifying money market stress and a global shortage of dollars comes despite strenuous efforts by major central banks to pump in hundreds of billions of dollars of liquidity to keep the interbank system afloat. Negotiations on the White House plan to buy up toxic assets reached an impasse after Republicans offered a rival proposal to offer mortgage insurance. Talks were to continue later on Friday, and some investors believed agreement would eventually be found. Europe's big three central banks stepped up their efforts to ease funding pressures over quarter end. The Bank of England on Friday offered to lend banks £40 billion in medium-term funds, a move which analysts said could ease straining credit markets and may even stop the rot in mortgage lending. The British Central Bank also said it was switching $30 billion of the $40 billion it has been offering overnight to one-week funds to address funding pressures over quarter end. The Bank of England acknowledged such tensions by reoffering an additional £5 billion that it first offered last week, but analysts said there was clearly appetite for more. The spread between 3-month sterling LIBOR and the overnight index swap rate rose to a record high of more than 150 basis points on Wednesday. On Thursday, 3-month US dollar LIBOR shot up nearly 30 basis points to 3.77%, its highest level since January, and nearly 2 percentage points above the expected federal funds rate in 3 months' time. That is double the levels seen in previous money market crunches since the credit crisis struck in August last year. The Reserve Bank of Australia launched its first ever repo in US dollars, and all $10 billion on offer was hungrily snapped up at 3.165%, well above the minimum bid rate of 2.35%. Two-thirds of American investors in a survey think the government's $700 billion bailout plan is the best solution to the current economic crisis. In an overnight survey of about 3,200 investment professionals, the CFA Institute found that 63% of those polled also supported the government's plan to guarantee $3.4 trillion of US money market deposits. But they were hesitant about other actions taken by regulators. For instance, the survey found that SEC's temporary ban on the short selling of financial shares was not supported, and 63% said they would have preferred the SEC bring back the uptick rule rather than ban short selling. The uptick rule, which was in effect from 1938 to 2007, required short sellers to sell above the last price paid for a stock, or at the price of the stock's last trade if it was higher than the previous price. 3/4 of those polled, however, said the bailout package should include limits on executive compensation. World leaders meeting for the United Nations General Assembly in New York recommitted themselves to reducing global poverty, pledging $16 billion in aid. But France said rich countries were strapped by a spreading crisis in financial markets. There were new commitments for malaria and education, including $168 million from Bill Gates for research to develop malaria vaccines. The meeting of governments, the private sector and development agencies sought to assess progress of universally agreed Millennium Development Goals to halve global poverty by 2015 and identify next steps. MySpace, the popular social networking site on the internet, has launched a service which will allow users to listen to millions of songs for free, but cannot be downloaded. The format, supported by advertising, is seen as a serious challenge to the dominance of Apple's iTunes store that has 8.5 million songs, and also will help MySpace catch up with rival Facebook. MySpace Music is already being supported by the 4 leading music labels, Sony BMG, Universal Music, EMI and Warner Music, and allows 120 million users to search, select and play music online, as well as share the playlists with friends. The player links directly to Amazon's music store to buy the songs for download. Record companies hope to recoup lost revenue from falling CD sales, with sales shrinking from $12 billion in 1999 to $5 billion this year. And finally, Formula One drivers prepare for the first ever night race in Singapore this weekend, with McLaren's Lewis Hamilton aiming to put up a good race after the Motorsport Authority rejected his appeal that punished him in the Belgian Grand Prix. Drivers voiced concerns about high and sharp curbs, while another concern is the threat of rain. Fernando Alonso said that from the point of view of the spectator, it is exciting. Hamilton's chief championship rival, Felipe Massa, says that qualifying for the Sunday night race will be crucial. The British driver, 1 point ahead of Ferrari's Massa in the drivers' standings with 4 races to go, agrees, adding that overtaking is going to be very tricky with a little less overtaking than at the other circuits. Whoever wins, whether it's Hamilton or Massa, will probably be the champion. However, with the championship standings so close and 3 more races to come after Singapore, anything can still happen. Thank you for watching FinancialMirror.tv and have a nice weekend.